Anyone else think that South Park is kind of a mess right now? I mean, not only are fans having to deal with this bizarre as hell scheduling where we only get 6 episodes a year, but also 2 movies, special events, drop at random points every year, which has resulted in South Park getting sued by Warner Brothers, who currently owns the rights to stream the episodes on their streaming service HBO Max. Because apparently Matt and Trey were using some loophole trickery to get around making content for them to divert new South Park stuff to Paramount Plus because it's owned by Viacom, who also owns Comedy Central, who airs South Park. Aren't the streaming wars fun, kids? You know what else is fun? Subscribing to the channel today. Is that how you're meant to do it? But first of all, how did this happen? How did we get here? Well, let me give you a quick rundown of how this disaster unfolded. So back in 2019, Warner Brothers landed the exclusive streaming rights to South Park, paying a lofty $500 million for its library of 23 seasons at the time, with the promise of 3 more seasons to come, where the episodes will be available to watch after premiering on television. Just think about how much money that is for a second. $500 million. Just to stream one show for 6 years. That's right, in 2025 the rights would go straight back to Paramount. But given how much HBO used South Park in its advertising, and how it's always on the trending searches, it was a worthy investment in the long run. I mean, if folks want to watch South Park online, they now have to go to your streaming platform. Or do they? See, for Viacom, this was a very smart move. HBO Max was a big hit, and so having one of their most popular cartoons on there is great for advertising, allowing for people who may not have even seen South Park before to finally check it out and become a fan. And then, I don't know, go into South Park Studios and buy a t-shirt. Ugh, well maybe not a t-shirt. There was only one issue that threw a wrench into this $500 million plan, and its name was corporate greed. Because HBO Max was such a success, everyone wanted to try their hand at rivaling Netflix, including Viacom, who launched Paramount Plus, the top streaming service to go to if you want to watch crappy reality shows and movies from 100 years ago nobody remembers. Well shit. They just gave away one of their biggest properties for the next half a decade. Whatever shall they do? They'll find a loophole, that's what. And so in late 2021, it was announced that Paramount had made a deal with Matt Stone and Trey Parker to create 14 new South Park movies, 2 a year until 2027, as well as renewing it until season 30. It's a lot of South Park. Or is it? Also, by the way, Matt and Trey would receive another $900 million from Paramount for this. Gee, I wonder why they took it. See, coincidentally, right around the time that South Park began releasing these 45-minute movies on Paramount, the regular seasons on HBO Max were decreased from 10 episodes to 6. Huh. Wait a minute, let's do the math. So you have 10, then minus 6, leaves us with 4 episodes unaccounted for. Then, if you take the special event, which is 45 minutes long, and split it in half, you're left with 22 minutes, which is the length of your average South Park episode. Meaning one movie is the equivalent of 2 regular episodes, and we get 2 of those per year. Which means...
Oh my god.
Yeah, so, to anyone with half a brain, the reasoning for this was pretty apparent. Viacom realized how much they screwed up by giving away such a large IP to a rival streaming service, and so in response found a loophole. That HBO Max are entitled to new episodes, but we never said nothing about no movies. Wait, we did? Well, we didn't say nothing about no, special events. Yes, this is apparently why they're being called that. It's comical, honestly. It's like a dumb plot they would make up for the show themselves. Which, you know, they later did do, but this is all fine and dandy, but in this attempt to swoop up the show for their own service, they really hindered a lot of people who were simply just trying to keep up with it regularly. Like, if we ignore all the reasons surrounding it, to your average South Park fan, this was so confusing to work around. To them, all they knew was sometimes it would release on HBO, and sometimes it would release on Paramount. What didn't help is they tried their hands at 45-minute specials a few years back with the COVID and vaccination specials. And because those were made before Paramount Plus, they're still on HBO. So if you were just some Joe Schmo, you couldn't tell where you had to go to get new South Park content. There's also the issue that South Park seasons have been getting shorter and shorter over the years. At the beginning of its run, it was a little inconsistent. Like, season 1 had 13 episodes, 2 had 18, then 3 and 4 had 17, then 14, then 17 again, then 15. But once season 8 rolled around, things had finally gotten into a solid formula. Each season of South Park would contain 14 episodes that would be spread out to the start of the year and the end of the year. For example, in March they'd air the first 7 every week, then they take a break for a couple months, then come back around October for the final 7. With them writing, directing, and producing every single episode the week it was airing, this allowed them to not burn themselves out, and come back with recharged batteries and, hopefully, more episode ideas. This was then further shortened by season 16 down to 10 episodes, that would air concurrently within 10 weeks. And now because of this whole streaming war fiasco, it just blew up from there. So like, do we consider the specials as a part of the full seasons, or what? Like, because now when we're looking through its history, there's that strange point where season 24 only had 2 episodes in it, both of which were the COVID specials. Then there's now a random interjection of 2 more specials which are technically sequels to the previous 2, yet that for some reason air on a completely different streaming service than the first. Then we interrupt that with a pitifully short 6-episode season, then we get another 2 specials from Paramount, and then back to another 6-episode season. And for now, that seems to be the way we'll be having it. Confused? Don't worry, you're not the only one. South Park fans were, understandably, very pissed about needing to pay for 2 streaming services just to watch new content for the show they liked, with replies to new episode announcements being flooded with folks upset about the way this is being handled, and especially with how poorly it's been communicated to everyone. As far as I'm aware, there was never any attempt to clue fans into what would separate the show from the specials, which definitely would have helped with the confusion. But we may not even stick with that formula for too long, because now the South Park creators have been sued for this very obvious scam they've been pulling on Warner Brothers. Yep. Last week it was announced that Warner Brothers Discovery filed a lawsuit, claiming that South Park breached their exclusivity contract with HBO by airing new stuff on Paramount+. And like, there's merit to this. If what they're saying is true, then it seems like South Park had promised them 3 10-episode seasons to put on HBO Max. And right now I've only delivered on 14 of the 30 episodes expected at this point. With them claiming that Paramount and South Park planned to divert those extra 4 episodes a season to Paramount+, combining them to create 2 special events. And like, that is what they did. I'm sorry, I believe that's what they did. See, now I can't get sued. But at the same time, depending on what the specifics of the contract is, Matt and Trey might get away with this. Although I will say, I am not a lawyer or legal person. Shocker, I know I talk about cartoons for a living. All I got is a cool freaking podcast that you should definitely check out after this video. I'm going to be interviewing the creator of Among Us soon, so go subscribe. But it seems like Matt, Trey, and Paramount were able to work around this because of semantics. You know, we promised you episodes. These are special events. Just trying whatever shitty yet hilarious method possible to make content for their own shit. But then Warner chimes in saying that the contract specified Paramount had to offer HBO Max any long-form content before putting it on their own service. Then Paramount says they never specified they'd deliver 30 episodes. And now they're claiming that Warner Brothers have failed to pay all of the $500 million they initially started this with. Despite the deal having gone over 4 years ago, you can see how muddied this all gets. At this rate, it's a bunch of he said, she said, and with conflicting statements and malpractice going on from both parties, I wouldn't be shocked if this ends up getting solved in private in some form, stone and glass houses and all. I can see this going one of a couple ways. 1. Everything continues to go on like normal. Legal shenanigans take a long time to sort out, and Warner Brothers definitely does not have free time on their hands right now, with all the controversy they find themselves in at the minute. So I could picture them taking so long to get through this, that 2025 comes around and their contract is already finished. In which they can go from there, but they're probably not going to get much out of it. What are they going to do? Take their $500 million back and put it into a movie that they'll cancel before it even comes out? Who cares at that point? Paramount and South Park can just continue on as normal. 2. Paramount wins. Paramount undoubtedly did some uncool stuff here. I think most would agree this was not a bro move on Matt and Trey's part either, but illegal? Who knows? So if Paramount wins, then whoop-de-doo. 2025 is right around the corner and they can just put all South Park on one streaming platform again. 3. Warner Brothers wins. I don't know what could happen if that were the result, but either Viacom or South Park would fork over a shit ton of money, or perhaps Matt and Trey would step in like, oh no, Mr. Warner Brothers, we were actually working on those other 16 episodes the whole time, let us just get those for you. In which case they'd probably shit out a batch of 16 mediocre episodes just to have it over and done with. In any case, South Park fans win. Very soon it'll be off HBO Max entirely, especially considering I don't even think there's gonna be a HBO Max pretty soon, them combining with Discovery Plus to make a brand new streaming service which you can pay $4,000 a month for, yippee. Throughout this whole ordeal, Matt and Trey have been pretty silent on the matter, but I find it funny all this junk has just not come to light, considering the duo used their previous year's Paramount Plus specials to basically admit to everything unfolding today. Cleverly titled The Streaming Wars, Stan and Tolkien agree to take part in the neighbor's new streaming service, where they make content and put it on the stream every day for money. Then Stan's dad gets upset to find out they're doing this for his rival, and because they're family, they should do it for him too. And so they agree. And when confronted, all they can say is they did it for the money without realizing how much content they'd actually have to be making.
So if you make an exclusive deal with a streaming service, you can't make an exclusive deal with another streaming service, can you?
It's not our fault that the streaming wars happened.
They've got you money now and way more going on than South Park at the minute. They're opening up a restaurant, investing in an AI deepfake company. They're trying to make the weed store Randy runs in the show IRL. That's not to mention helping make a 3D South Park video game. They've got their plates full and have basically reached the top. So to them, making new South Park or being sued by HBO Max is probably not that big of a deal. Because if it was, I can imagine they would have been a lot more cautious before signing all these contracts. So, yeah, that's a wrap on that. Thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated, brosifs. And tune in next time where we do something. Check out the podcast. Bye!